All right, folks, we are live. We're live on all channels. So thank you very much for joining today. My name is Eric Wright. We're here. We've got Virtual Design Master, episode 3. This is pretty crazy. We've had such a fun season this time around. We're approaching this with the idea, as you can see behind me, we want to talk today about product management in hackathons. Give you a quick background as to what this is all about. Of course, if you're just joining, just discovering what we're doing here, very excited by what we've been doing in the community for a long time. Again, I'm Eric. I'm at Disco Posse on Twitter. Easiest way to find me. My usual cohort, Angelo, as well. Angelo Luciani on Twitter. We're having some technical fun trying to get Angelo to join. This is the enjoyment of internet challenges at the same time when you run a live show. And of course, you may or may not know Melissa. You should. She is the designer who creates the incredible technical scenarios and the stories around all the challenges that have been with us on Virtual Design Master since season 1. So with that, we're going to get right into the meat of what we're trying to approach today. We've got a big event coming up. Of course, for folks that are from the virtualization community, you've probably been familiar with VMware and VMworld. So I'm also, of the many things I love to do that are very community focused, a few years ago, Cody Bunch, who famous for being part of the V Brown Bag and among many other very, very strong community oriented things he does, Cody started this idea of a community coffee exchange. So the idea is we just bring, a bag of beans and you bring them to VMworld with you, 1 or 2 pounds of beans, and then we exchange them amongst other folks. Because we've got a global community that's there on site, it's super exciting to be able to bring people together when you really get a chance to taste literally coffee from around the world. So I've carried on the tradition, big thanks to Cody, who wasn't able to attend a couple years ago, and I kind of kept that ball rolling. We're actually all going to be there this time around. So if you want to go to the URL that's at the top there, that's a short URL, so make sure you do follow. We can put the links in the show notes as well. Just go to my blog as well. Go to discoposse.com. I've got it pinned for how you can find the coffee exchange. Bring a pound or 2 of coffee. Sign up in the form so we know you're coming. And also for powering the Virtual Design Master community, we're partnering with Diabolical Coffee in order to give fundraising opportunities for folks that want to be able to literally, you buy a mug, you're supporting this community. So it's a beautiful, very cool 20-ounce tumbler. It's customized, so it's with the logo there. So again, big thanks to all the folks that are supporting us already. We're close to our print limit. We actually have to sell a few more mugs in order to make the minimum print because we have to sell a bunch of them. And then the same thing for the VFit community. If you're keen on a community run, do check out my blog at discoposse.com. Without further ado, let's get to the stuff that we're here for today. So we've got a hackathon that's coming up. This hackathon is super exciting because the goal is it's 100% online. It is operations focused. The idea is to bring folks into a hackathon experience that may not have realized that they had the capability to do it. You don't need to be a coder to be in a hackathon. So we actually want to really think this is almost like startup training in effect. So we're going to run a hackathon incubator. This is what Virtual Design Master Season 6 is. And it's very, very important. Again, we've got to know who's coming and who's going to be there. So because we're setting up all of the event logistics. So please do sign up. Follow the URL at the bottom here. So it's a VDM S6 registration. So please do that because critically important for us to make sure that we know who's going to be there. It's a 24-hour event. However, that doesn't mean that you need to be coding or working 24 straight hours. So we'll follow on in a second. We'll explain exactly what that hackathon means, especially when it relates to product management. Now, if you're keen to find out how we got here, we've already done 2 episodes so far. Number 1 was how to come up with a good hackathon idea. We gave some good examples that have been proven out in previous hackathons. We had the team. How do you build an effective hackathon team from folks and that maybe, that you've never even met? Understanding how to bring diversity into a team to build successful development and product teams. Today, we're going to talk about the product. So how do you actually do product management and manage your scope as you're in a hackathon experience and beyond? And then next week, next Thursday, so please do sign up. So go to discopos.se, VDM S6E4. sign up for the webinar. That'll be our final education webinar. We're going to talk about what it's actually like at a hackathon, why it's super fun. It's not scary. Did I mention it's fun, right? So just jump in and we'll be going through what our hackathon is going to look like, as well as what others have done. So please do sign up. And thank you again for all the support. So again, mark the date. So Friday, August the 9th, beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern time through to Saturday morning, August 10th at 9 a.m. So this is a 24-hour span during which you can code as you wish amongst your team. You please do sign yourself up. Don't find a team. Begin by finding you. Come in. We've got a couple of registrations that are already coming through. So please do jump in. Go to https://discopos.se, discopos.se/VDM S6 registration. Again, use uppercase VDM and S and R. It is a shortened link. So please do that. Get signed up. Whatever your role is going to be, you'll go through the form and you'll see literally it's 7 questions or 8 questions. You can be an observer, you can be a team leader, you can be whatever it's going to be. If you want to sponsor the event, you can come through and you can do so. If you're keen on being a part, so there will be prizes. Yes, there are going to be prizes at the end for the different teams. So please do make sure you jump in, get involved. Just being a part of the audience even is going to be a chance. So this is we're hammering this home because we're actually only 3 weeks away from the event itself, and now is the time to really kick it up. Make sure we know. So we will judge the size of the event based on the size of participation, and then we can choose team sizes from there. So do sign up, fill out the form, and if you've got any questions, of course, you can reach out to me. I'm Disco Posse on Twitter, eric@discoposse.com. With that, we're just going to hammer right in. We're going to talk about product management today. Product management is a really interesting art. It's a bit of art. It's a bit of science. Mostly it's art. It's a lot of cat herding. I call it the art of ruthless pragmatism during and beyond the hackathon. Remember, all of the stuff that we talk about here is not just hackathon related. It's meant to be able to be used far beyond the hackathon itself. So these are skills that I've seen play out in actual startup environments or even in corporate environments in a micro team. So these are skills you want to carry forward throughout the rest of your tech career. When we think about hackathon, we talked about this. You've seen this slide a couple of times if you watched the series. So, first of all, 101 on a hackathon. First, you got to plan. Think about the fact that you're going to come in with a 24-hour period or a 5-hour period, whatever it's going to be. So think about that. But dream big. Think beyond the scope of the hackathon. What's the actual product I want to solve? What's the challenge I'm solving? What's the product I want to build to do that? And how can I do it even beyond? So that's look ahead. Look ahead means, okay, I've done this now. What do I want to do to keep going? And this actually, we find quite often these are teams that become close, they become excited, and they carry on development beyond the hackathon completion. The hackathon itself doesn't need to be a finished product. It just needs to be a concept that's played out. It could even be just mostly PowerPoints, but bring the concept to bear. And that's what we're going to talk about. And really, more than anything, we want to build trust amongst your peers and really teach folks that they can achieve an incredible goal together in a very shortened time frame. This is a chance for us to push each other and really, really do some amazing things together. Your goal in a hackathon has got to be the same as it would be with any product development in the real world. Like hackathons, I don't say that it's not real world, but you're not, the skin is not in the game that you've got a business riding on it and sales folks behind it, right? But it's the same concept. In fact, there are significant products that you can see out there in the wild that develop some of their best features or even the product itself in a hackathon. You read them about Twitter, about Uber, about Lyft, and all these different companies that they run hackathons and they develop what become profound changes to their platforms through a 24-hour hackathon or 48-hour hackathon or even something smaller. But you want to think about quality, right? What is something that I'm going to do here that I'm going to be proud of? It solves a problem that I've got, and making sure that I do so in a way that I'm proud that I've done. I've advanced my own skills or advanced the capabilities of my team by doing this. You want to always maintain customer focus. Everything you do when you talk about creating products or doing development or thinking the way you explained, even just when you demo a product itself, think about how it's being used and who's using it. That's the audience that you have to think about, right? So it's always done through the lens when you're doing building and testing. and you want to learn continuously. These hackathons are fun. They're meant to be able to up-level your skills in ways that you didn't realize that you may have had a chance to do so. Product management. Now, here's the fun of product management in general, especially in a hackathon. It's got a unique, it's a very interesting skill set that you need in order to be effective, because quite often you're moving fast. This is, Facebook called moving fast and breaking things. Well, you're really moving fast here because you're in a short time frame. So you have to think about scoping out product features. Number one, right? What do I define and prioritize as what I can get done in the period of time I've got allotted to me? And this prioritization becomes really, really cool because you can use this forever going forward, right? This is life skills being played out in a 24-hour period. Then there's project planning. So project planning itself is now just, you've got the feature planning, you've got the scope defined. How do you figure out how you're going to do this and sort of cut up your period of time? And whether you're used to working in Agile, whether you're used to working in Scrum, whether you're used to working in a project management office that probably has a horrifying old school waterfall methods, well, whatever it is, whatever your background, you can think about this, crunch it down to 24 hours. So you've got to be effective. We're going to show you kind of an agile approach. We're using a few different sprints, and we'll show you how we actually solve this and how I've proven it out in previous hackathons. Product marketing. This is actually a good pairing. So product marketing management and product management marketing, it's a pairing, right? You need to be able to take the idea that you've got, think of it through the customer lens, and then convince somebody that it's valuable. Tell that value story. Understand how you can convey that to somebody, because the most amazing technology or product is only as good as the person that's going to love to use it, and they are going to be affected by it in a positive way that makes them want to use it again and share it. And also demo preparation. As a product manager in here, you've got to be able to participate and feed the team, or perhaps you're even doing the demo yourself. When you've got 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 people on a team, you can kind of spread those roles around. You may be a 3-person team, and you may actually be doing more than one role in your hackathon team. So be prepared to dabble in a bit of everything. This, again, also good life training for everything in work. So design your demo continuously. What can I do in a very crunched time frame to be able to effectively convey the story, the challenge that I'm solving, and how we solve it in the product itself. And sometimes it may be a little bit of hand waving and PowerPoints and graphical representations, but at the very least, you have to be able to explain the flow of how it gets used. When we think about the development life cycle, it is literally a circular cycle. So you're going to go through this process where, on the top left, we talk about creating the feature backlog. So first you define what are the features I'm going to be doing in general. And then from that backlog, you move a certain number into a development sprint. That sprint is going to be taking these, features, which are actually really should be user stories. User needs to be able to log in. I need to be able to log in with LinkedIn. I need to be able to create a profile and add my Twitter handle. Those are our stories. So those stories then become things that we move into the sprint. And then we assign those and we treat those as features and milestones. There's literally lots of phrasing you would hear, and whatever it is, think of it as like, I've got to be able to do this thing, and here's the time in which I'm going to develop that thing. It doesn't get much simpler than that. So each development sprint has building, testing. So testing is not just functional testing, but quality assurance testing, infrastructure testing, right? So I don't think you need to necessarily go to the deep end of the pool and get into fully automated, data-driven testing necessarily, especially if you haven't done it before. What you really want to think about is, if I'm building the product, if I'm developing a feature set, I'm going to build it with my code, with my approach. So if I test it, I'm really only going to test the thing that I built. What you really want is a second person or a third person or everybody else on the team testing that for you, so that they say, oh, well, I noticed that if you double click that it does something different or whatever, because you as the builder of that feature may not have the same lens that a customer would. It's an amazing skill that you have to develop in being able to separate yourself from development into testing. So it's a good chance in a hackathon to really share that responsibility. And because it's speedy, it's pretty exciting to be able to do it. And then feedback and build that feedback loop and run retrospectives. So kind of have a stop point where you say, okay, we've been developing for 5 hours. Where are we? How do we do? What's going well? What moves into the next sprint? This is the same features that you use in agile methodologies and lean methodologies as you go into the real world in longer form development sprints, which are 2 weeks or 3 weeks or longer, or maybe 1 week. So your development sprints here are going to be hours instead of weeks. So it's a very interesting way to kind of scale it down and then take that practice and then scale it up. So make sure that you really stop to look at what worked, what didn't work. So here's what your hackathon timeframe is going to look like. I'm using the 24-hour schedule that we're actually going to use. So this is a preview of what it's going to look like when you're participating in this. Again, 100% online at your leisure when you want to jump in and out. This is not something that you need to be online, on camera 24 hours. It's really you go away, however you collaborate amongst your team, whether it's Slack or something like that. So first you plan. You have to initially say, okay, what are we going to do? How do we map out what are the feature set? Who's going to do it, right? It's going to be fast paced. You want to do it quickly so that you can really get started on the initial building. We're going to try and do as much to set up infrastructure in advance. So hopefully you've got access to the resource in order to do it. But initially it's probably going to be working on your laptop, working on a virtual machine or a virtual box or something along those lines. Cloud instance, perhaps, whatever it is. So then you set out what's the team going to be doing, who's doing what, head into sprint one. I call these, I label these as sprints, and you can see the time frames we've labeled as about 5 hours. It's a pretty good sort of span of time to get something done, get into a more sort of deep sense of development, and then be able to stop and say, okay, good, how are we doing? Because you can't work for 12 hours and then realize something's gone sideways because you don't have a chance to pivot and adjust. So you're going to do the initial architecture, building begins, you're going to start your testing regimen. Then we get through, we run our first retrospective. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon on day one, you're stopping. Okay, where are we? How are things going? Head into sprint 2, right? Okay, some stuff carries forward. Maybe you got it done. You move into sprint 2. Again, 5-hour stretch. Decide at this point, you're starting to really think about the long-term scope, because in your second sprint, most likely, you've probably found a feature that isn't really going to be able to get done in 24 hours. Nothing wrong with that. Again, that's what hackathons are for. Okay, you hit your second progress check. So at 8 o'clock at night, you probably want to stop in, and we're actually going to run an online team progress check. So everybody gets a check in. All right, it's kind of like they do in a kitchen. You yell out the order and everyone says, yes, chef. So this is what we do. As team leads, we all jump in together and said, okay, how are things going? What are the risk points? What do you need? What do you need help with? Do you need mentoring? Do you need coaching? Do you need to share resources? And that's our chance to be able to make sure that you've got the right tools and capabilities and coaching and help from your peer group to be able to do what you need to do. Now we're heading into the second phase. So sprint number 3 is going to be about from 9 o'clock to midnight. This is generally where you start to feel this is starting to break down, right? You can only code for so long for the most part. We're doing this over an extended period of time. Luckily you're in your own environment. You literally could be sitting on your couch doing this. So you've got a bit more relaxation opportunity, but still it's a long day. And at this point, you're going to have to start to think, okay, at midnight on this day, I've really got to decide what the scope is. And we've got to start effectively getting into cleanup work. You should also, at this point, be heavily working towards your demo. So this is, as a product manager, you're also now feeding the demo team to say, okay, here's what we actually have to show. Here's what it is so far. You can use the test environment, build out the first demo, and start to map it out. Tell the story of what matters to a user and why they would use this. Then you head into the night shift. So at this point, if you want to continue, then you can carry forward. If you do not, then you get some rest. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, the hackathon team I was most recently at a corporate event with my team at Turbonomic, we decided at 11 p.m., let's all take a break. And some people carried on for about an hour or two, and then we jumped back on at 5 o'clock in the morning. So it helped for us. We didn't need to keep going. We were able to scope it appropriately to give ourselves some rest time to then attack the problems in the morning. So 6 a.m., hands off the keyboard. Everybody free, It's time to put in your submission. It's going to be uploading your code. It's time stamped. You've got your everything that's ready to go, your documentation. Remember, as a product manager, you also have to make sure you're defining other roles that are there. Is the documentation up to date? Do all the developers and all the demoers know how to be able to tell the story so you can work together? And then from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we're actually going to run the presentation. So this is going to be, again, very tight presentations. And then once we do that, now judging may actually be over the course of the next couple of days as we go back and evaluate things depending on how many judges we have involved. But ultimately, that's where the fun part comes in, right? You're actually going to be able to get a chance to win some prizes. So if I look at it on a linear scale, this is a good way as a Gantt chart to kind of show. This is what it looks like. You're going to have plan, build, and demo. They cross over each other. Planning is continuous because you're actually going to be doing agile methods, ideally. So you're going to revisit your scope continuously. So please make sure that you do that. But the bulk of your planning for your initial feature set is going to be up front. And then you're going to move into the build phase, which is kind of the longest portion. Then your demo prep. Again, remember, demo time begins early in the product lifecycle. You don't wait until it's done. You do everything to get ready so that maybe you're recording it or you're testing it over and over again. You don't want to be caught out and learning something that maybe the demo flow won't work. You want to find that out early on in the process. Now, here's a tip for when it comes to demo time. And again, this is more like a product marketing feature, but product managers really should understand how to do this. And an effective product manager will actually, in a corporate environment or in a startup environment, any product environment, will generally know how to demo their product because it's their product. They've just said, this is the scope of work that we're going to develop. This is the functions that I'm going to deliver. This is the reason we're doing it. So they know the why, they know the how, and then they actually deliver and show you exactly how it works. So it's important to be able to do that. So an effective demo is going to be one that really brings your viewer through the journey of what problem we're solving, the idea we had around how we solve it, the solution in place, so a quick explanation of what it looks like, and then actually running the demo. So I think about every element that you have is going to be either a live event, it's going to be some PowerPoints, and with 10 minutes to spare, there's nothing to spare. So I talk about economy of words. This is very important when we get, so here's like the hackathon, if you actually look on the bullets below here. So your demo time example is about 1 minute to introduce the team. And in fact, you can do it in 30 seconds. Hello, we're Team Disco Posse, and we are made up of Angelo and Melissa. Here's our Twitter handles. We're very proud. We come from a diverse background. We wanted to be able to target this problem. Let's get to the challenge. All right, how long was that? 20 seconds? This is not the time to say, hello, my name is Eric Wright. I'm at Disco Posse on Twitter. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I work at this company, so I'm developing a Turbonomic. This is not the time to deliver a long form bio. You want to get to your demo because inevitably, as you tell the demo story, that's the most important part. Team slide, picture, words, nothing more. The challenge. The challenge that I'm solving is I wanted to be able to deliver what I call the unified pane of glass. I need to be able to have one place in which I can go where my customers in the environment who do not have vCenter access are able to manage virtual machines and reserve them. So this is a problem. They need to be able to generate virtual machines. However, they can't do it today without logging in and using the native interface. That's my challenge. Okay, perfect. My idea. The idea that I've got is that I can, using a web framework, be able to deliver an easy-to-use front end where they can grab machines, they can see the status and power cycling of the machines, and in doing so, they don't need to log into vCenter. We can give them generic credentials behind the scenes at the back end that's fully audited, and then they can go through a familiar web UI and get access to what they need. That's the idea. The solution, I've built a Ruby on Rails framework. And by doing so, I've been able to run commands in the background on the actual server itself using Power CLI. That's the solution. All right, let's get to the demo. There you go. So you think about that as we've laid it out here, team, challenge, idea, and solution. We've actually laid out that that's 5 minutes. We've done it in 2.5. So think about that as you're doing things. You don't want it to be super rushed. You can be, but you also want to make sure what's the thing that I'm doing and why did we do it? And I mentioned here, it says, always ask yourself, so what? and this is maybe not in your 10-minute demo you want to do this, but everything you develop, think, does it actually matter to someone? So when someone says, hey, I've got this amazing, this is really cool. I've got this web interface that allows people to start and stop virtual machines and create reservations for them. Like, so what? So what it means is that they don't need to be able to learn how to use the vCenter UI, because that doesn't make sense to people who don't live in the VMware environment. Oh, okay, right? Or it may be, I need to be able to do this, and I need to be able to create a self-service front end for, let's say, some product, or I want to create a better UI for vCloud Director. And they'll say, well, so why would you do that? Because vCloud Director is customizable or can do other things. Okay, so it makes you stop and think about, am I doing the thing that's actually solving a problem, or am I just building tech for tech's sake? So the kind of we've followed this format through the other sessions, and that's why I think it's been meaningful. And thank you to all the folks who've given us great feedback. This is very, very helpful, and hopefully that you're finding value in this, and definitely continue to reach out. You always have access to this team forevermore on being able to help you with any questions. So as product manager, you have to think, what features are critical to the success of this product? What do I need to deliver as my minimum viable product? That is table stakes, minimum requirements. Does the time frame and the feature development match? So I've given myself 24 hours and I need to build a giant web framework, and do I have the capability to do so? In theory, it may play out differently, but at least you've got to know up front, are you scoping incorrectly? Which features and functions are nice to have? This is prioritization, which is fundamental to the use of the platform, and which is like, if we could do it so that it was like in one screen, it would be nice. And what can be demoed at the end in the product versus presentation. So there's very, very cool techniques you can use in demo where maybe even a portion of the application doesn't work. Make sure that you can quickly talk about it and then kind of blow right by it. If someone says, oh, sorry, hold on a second. What happens if you click that link? Oh, that link actually doesn't work right now. This is part of our future development, but okay, good, right? That's how you have to think. The demo doesn't have to be feature complete. The demo just has to be able to walk the customer through the journey of the story of the challenge you're solving and how you do it. So as you do this, the phrasing is interesting. Again, I talked about being ruthlessly pragmatic. Manage time and feature builds ruthlessly. You cannot give leeway. There's no humming and hawing about this stuff. I have 24 hours to build something. I cannot be wishy-washy about making decisions what goes and what doesn't. Be prepared to make tough and fast decisions. So this is the point where you're going to have to say, okay, I know that we wanted to do this. However, we've got to say, cut the cord. That feature isn't going to fit in. Let's just do it in a PowerPoint. Okay, right? Those are tough decisions sometimes, especially when you're working as a collective. As a product manager, you also have the responsibility to kind of be the benevolent dictator. So you've been elected by this team to represent and define the scope. And in doing so, you have to sometimes tell somebody, while I respect the idea you've brought to the table, I also know that in the current scope of what we've got available, that we don't have time. If you believe you can do it and you can fit it in, so be it. Then let's work together on that. But if the choice is made that you have to do, as you hear about Jeff Bezos and the Amazon team talk about, disagree and move forward. So don't take it personally. We talked about that in the last one, right? Just move forward. So you have the tough job as a product manager to make tough decisions. And it doesn't mean being the department of no. It means that being the department of it's not appropriate at this time. However, we respect what you brought to the table. That's the difference. And think like a customer. If you're not thinking like a customer, if you're thinking like a technologist, you ever see that image they talk about how you can tell the UI has been built by engineers? It's just buttons and buttons and buttons, right? So think about that. And when you get into hackathon product management, who is going to do the product management? It may be a shared responsibility amongst few people. So be prepared to do so, right? But make sure you're clear in assigning who is going to take on that role. How involved are you going to be at each stage, including build, test, and demo? So make sure that you understand how much you're going to delegate and just ask for feedback, and how much you're actually going to participate in building. How do you deal with conflict resolution? As I mentioned in the previous slide there, You have to be able to have a method where even where there's a disagreement, that there has to be some outcome that you can reach, whether it's not, loved by all. You have to be able to say, I'm very sorry, as the product manager or as the team leader. The team leader is elected that we cannot fit this in and we will not do this. Or, well, we like this idea of using this framework, it doesn't make sense in this case. And as a participant in the team, you have to be able to take that and say, this is not a personal push against my idea. It is saying that my idea, while good, is not appropriate for this project at this time. That's it. Have your plan B. They always tell you don't have a plan B because you'll use it. You're in a hackathon. You're going to use plan B. You're going to use plan probably K. You're going to work your way through a lot of things that may or may not work. So be ready to, if this doesn't work, when do I make the go and no-go decision on each feature? As you go through those sprints, make sure you're very clear on when you say, yes, we're good to go, or let's revisit. Product managers have the unfortunate challenge of time and people management and development management. So make sure you are punctual. Don't miss any deadlines. Don't say, okay, I'll see you there. Hopefully I'll be on the sprint call, on the retrospective. No, we do stand-ups at a particular time. You do retrospectives at a particular time. You stick to it. Even if you're in the midst of development, don't move unless it's critical. If someone says, look, we're literally almost there, we need 5 more minutes. Okay, then you start the meeting and you wait. And then in 5 minutes say, okay, hands off the keyboard. We need to know where we are. Lead by example. So your way that you word things, the way you approach the team, the way that you coach them, the way that you interact with them will be how you set the tone for the rest of the team. This is shared amongst the team lead and the product management. Because in fact, product management is probably the most strong leadership role. The team lead is really about bringing the people together. The product management is about being able to bring a product together from those people. It's an incredible opportunity. It's a really exciting role. It's also challenging. So make sure you're participating. You're not just offloading saying, you go do that thing. That's really not a good way. Delegation is not a handoff or a toss over the wall. So respect the team and the time. Understand that these people have come from literally around the world in different time zones, from different walks of life, and they've all come together to work to achieve a shared goal. So be respectful of that. And think about that as you think, oh, okay, if I say no to this thing, well, be empathetic as to what the effect is going to be. Again, these are life skills. We want to be very, very strong in this. Like everything we do with Virtual Design Master was meant not to be good at Virtual Design Master. It's meant to be good at life, be good in tech opportunities, become a better architect, become a better developer, become a better designer, become something better than you were the day before. That's the goal of our community. So if I think about being ruthlessly pragmatic, this is how you do it, right? Clearly define your features and make sure you assign priority and continuously visit and revisit that priority and be prepared to adapt. Testing is critical. Are the features working? Is any portion of your application or your development tipping over? Be there, be ready, be involved. Make sure you're continuously checking in. Sometimes it's every product development will follow different testing cycles, so it's going to be very interesting. Flexibility. You've got to think on your feet. You've got to act on your feet. There's going to be tough decisions made, and they need to be made clearly and pragmatically. So think about the greater good. And again, even just perfect life skill opportunity. It's about a group of people working together to find the right answer, not single people trying to prove that they're right. That's the fundamental difference in how we have to approach this. Building in feedback. So make sure that you're asking for feedback, solicit feedback continuously throughout the process, and make sure that everybody's nodding along. Yes, we know this is working. We're good. Everybody's happy. Any questions? Good. Okay. Make sure that we're building that feedback loop, and especially as we get into testing and redeveloping. And build the demo. Be prepared to make something very proud to you and your team as you think about, I didn't get it done. This is my favorite thing. Begin with a half-baked product. Think about how you would pitch a product that's not even ready. What's the story you're going to tell? So practice that in your mind. Think about how you can do that. And that's really the key. So there's kind of a lot to take in, and it's a bit of a challenge as we look for how we do things in product management in general. There's literally tons and tons of great books. One of my favorite books I do actually recommend is called Creative Selection. It's about how they did design at the early days of Apple. And it's very interesting when you see now, you know, I don't want to subscribe to a particular, founder or whatever. If you find me an incredible founder story, most likely I'll find you somebody that really didn't like working at that organization. And that's fair. So we're not saying that Steve Jobs was the reason they had great products, but we can tell you about how the team was built and how they developed products and did demos. And we're very, very cool. So definitely it's worth a read or worth a listen if you're an audiobook fan. So very, very much, I highly recommend it. Again, called Creative Selection. And I think it's Ken Casienda who actually did the book. So phenomenal book. So before you finish up, make sure again, please, 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 are you wanting to just watch this hackathon in action? Even if it's literally just one team going forward, whatever it's going to be, we are here to teach you what a hackathon is like. Don't be afraid to be a part of it. So sign up for the registration. The hackathon link is right there. We'll actually include it in the show notes. And make sure for episode 4, next Thursday at the same time, how to get ready for it. So this is going to be the last sort of wrap up on what to expect in a hackathon. We're going to probably try and run live questions as much as we can. So we're also going to get ready to start testing our streaming platform. This is super exciting because we're actually going to stream as much of the hackathon as we can, and we encourage other folks to do so as well. This is very, very exciting. So please, thank you for being active. Thank you for getting registered. It gives us a sense because we need to start pulling together, understanding how the sponsors are going to build their prizes. So it's going to be very much dependent on your participation. If you want to succeed, you need to be in the game. If you want to just watch, you're still in the game, but you've got to register to be on the sidelines, and we're comfortable with that. So I definitely want to thank all of our team and our community, Angelo and Melissa, who've given us the ability to take this and turn it into an incredible community. We spend a lot of time to make sure that we can give something back to all of you. And you've given great feedback that it is working, it is helpful, and we're super thankful for that. So for that, thank you for watching. Make sure you register. So again, episode 4 next Thursday. It's going to be at the same time, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. And then August 9th to the 10th for 24 hours, the live hackathon. It will be very, very exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a precursor to the VMworld Hackathon, which has not yet been announced. So we're keeping our eyes on that because there's going to be some interesting logistics. We will be there and we'll be running Team Virtual Design Masters. So Team VDM will be on site and I'm looking for team members. But the best thing you can do to get ready for that is to come on in and let's pre-hack. So join the VDM Hackathon. I'll see you again next Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can keep an eye on what's going on. If you can do me a favor, make sure you always like the content because it's helpful for us. And hey, if you don't like it, then dislike it. It's all good. This is the interesting thing. So, oh, there we go. I'm seeing from the comments. Thank you, Dee. Also, if you're a fan of all things community, D. Abson, he's at DEEABSON on Twitter. Phenomenal fellow, good human. And good friend. Very, very proud of all the work that Dee has put into helping this community. He was with me on my hackathon team last year, a fundamental part of this team. So he's. I encourage you, if you got Dee on your team, you're doing well. So he also did the design for the VFit shirts. So make sure if you go to my site, if you want to buy a shirt, the actual sale runs out in a couple of days. We're actually going to close up because we need to give our shirts for the event. So VMworld Hackathon is on the 26th from 7 p.m. to midnight, so the 26th of August. So we will be in San Francisco. I will confirm about how the logistics work. We'll share the blog posts. We'll share through the community channel. Sign up, go to virtualdesignmaster.io, get on the newsletter, and we'll share all the logistics again. So to Dee, to everybody from around the world who's watching this, we're humbled by the response. We're looking forward to seeing some folks and join Team Virtual Design Master Hackathon, August 8th to 9th, and then we'll talk to you later. Thanks and have a great day.